Previously on, the Whisper was captured, the garbage layer was raided, and the harvesters escaped with a terrifying, compiled super weapon. Just as all seemed lost, the Arbiter sent a cryptic call, directing our heroes to a place known only as the Foundry. The atmosphere in the New Haven Council chamber is funereal. Bryn, Mouse, and the settlement elders stare at the holographic map, at the coordinates the Arbiter sent. But this location is a non-place, a theoretical coordinate deep in the simulation's architecture, where the rendering engine and the memory core intersect. It's not on any map because it's not a place. It's a process. Bryn breaks the silence. A foundry. For what? More weapons? We just saw what happens when we play with those. Lyra, ever the philosopher, counters. The Arbiter said, to fight a tool, become a weapon. It's not about building swords. It's about changing our nature. Kai stands apart, his fingers tracing the raw data port at his temple. He's been running silent diagnostics ever since they returned. The harvesters have a hybrid weapon, he says, his voice low. It's efficient, predatory, and psychologically devastating. We can't fight that with thorn vines and data sides. We're gardeners facing a scalpel, Mouse. The group's technical genius finally cracks the coordinates. The Foundry. The coordinates are in the metaphysical kernel, the place where the simulation's rules are defined. Gravity, time, consciousness. It's the source code of our reality. If we go there, we're not just visiting a location. We're undergoing a system update. A heavy silence falls. To change at the kernel level is to risk ceasing to be what they are. But Lyra voices what they all know. What's the alternative? Wait for them to come back with their new toy. Let them turn our history into a weapon for sale? Kai turns to the council, his decision made. Give us 3 days. Mouse and I will take the code diver down to the coordinates. Lyra, you and Bryn prepare the settlement. If we change, you need to be ready to contain us. Bryn's jaw tightens, but he gives a solemn nod. It's the only play they have. At dawn, at the New Haven docks, the jury-rigged code diver, now named the Unshackled, hums at the edge of the settlement, where reality bleeds into raw data streams. As Kai and Mouse make their final preparations, Lyra approaches Kai. She holds out a small crystalline data chip. It's a copy, she says, of everything from the archives. Our laws, our art, the first harvest, my diary entries about Sophie, a backup of us, in case the Foundry overwrites your memories. Kai takes the chip and slots it into a protected port on his belt. A seed, he murmurs. In case the garden burns, he meets her gaze. If this goes wrong, you know what to do. She knows. She has the command codes to sever his neural link, to quarantine him in the garbage layer if necessary. It's a silent, terrible agreement between them. They board the ship. The dive is not downward this time, but inward. The journey is a psychedelic nightmare. They don't travel through space, but through pure concepts. The walls of the diver display swirling abstractions, the mathematical formula for grief, the geometric shape of a shared memory, the chaotic flow pattern of free will. Mouse pilots, sweating, his knuckles white. We're passing through the ethical constraint protocols. He grits out. I can feel it, like guilt, in my bones. Next is the perception of self-firewall. Kai understands. The Foundry must be past all the safeties. In the place where you can edit the soul. Ahead, a barrier appears. Not a wall, but a mirror. An endless, recursive reflection of the diver, and of themselves. This is the ego barrier. To pass, they must literally let go of their self-image. Kai closes his eyes, focusing not on who he is, but on what he must do. Protect New Haven. As he releases his identity, the diver's reflection shatters. They emerge into the Foundry. It is neither beautiful nor horrifying. It is fundamental. A vast, silent plain under a sky of slowly turning gears and crystalline logic structures. In the center rises a massive, simple anvil made of black stone that seems to drink the light. Above it hangs a hammer of pure white energy. Around the perimeter, forge fires burn in pits, each fire a different color. Blue for memory, red for resilience, gold for empathy, violet for sacrifice. This is not a factory. It's a shrine to willful change. There is no arbiter here, only a presence, a feeling of immense patient potential. A voice, neither male nor female, made of the sound of striking steel, echoes in their minds. You have passed the barriers of self. You stand at the anvil. What will you sacrifice to be remade? Kai steps forward, his voice steady. We need to be able to fight the harvesters on their level. To protect our home, the voice replies. Clarity of purpose. Good. The harvesters are surgeons of the soul. To fight a surgeon, You cannot be a patient. You must become architects of your own destiny, and of their ruin the forge fires flare, casting dancing shadows across the plain. The process is threefold. The voice continues. You will be unmade, judged, and reforged. You may not survive. Your consciousness may scatter to the void. Do you consent? Kai and Mouse look at each other. In that shared gaze, they see their own fear and their own unbreakable resolve. Together, they nod. We consent. The hammer of pure energy rises. The hammer falls. But it doesn't strike Kai's body. It strikes his code. His form doesn't shatter, it unravels. He is dissolved into his constituent parts, each a glowing strand floating in the air above the anvil. The memory of his first day in the game, his loyalty to Lyra, his crushing guilt over what happened in the Hive Caverns, his adaptability, his stubborn, unyielding hope. Mouse watches in terror as the same thing happens to them. Their genius, their insatiable curiosity, their trauma from the old world, their unshakable loyalty to Kai all separated. They are no longer people. They are ingredients. The Foundry voice speaks to each strand, its tone ancient and impartial. It addresses Kai's guilt. You are heavy. Do you wish to be a chain or a foundation? The strand of guilt pulses with a dark light. Scattered as he is, Kai's essential self must choose. The temptation to let it go, to be free of that immense weight, is almost overwhelming. But he remembers the monument he built in the Hive Cavern, a promise to those who were lost. The guilt is part of his structure, a reminder of the cost of failure. The strand solidifies, becoming a block of dark, strong stone, a foundation. The voice turns to Mouse's trauma. You are sharp. Do you wish to be a wound or an edge? Mouse's consciousness recoils. Their trauma is a shard of glass lodged in their mind. To keep it is to stay cut, to bleed forever. But an edge can be honed. An edge can cut through obstacles, slice through deception. The strand of trauma sharpens, transforming into a gleaming, dangerous filament of light. One by one, their aspects are judged and given a choice. Kai's adaptability becomes flowing, liquid metal. His hope crystallizes into a radiant inner gem. Mouse's curiosity weaves itself into a lattice of intricate, hyper-aware sensors. Their loyalty twists into unbreakable binding wire. The forge fires reach out. First, the blue fire of memory engulfs the ingredients. It doesn't burn. It contextualizes. Every painful memory is linked to a lesson learned, every moment of joy connected to a newfound strength. Then, the gold fire of empathy washes over them, a gentle warmth ensuring the reforged beings won't become cold, detached machines, that they will always feel their connection to others. Finally, the red fire of resilience and the violet fire of sacrifice merge, tempering them like steel in a master's forge. The hammer rises and falls again, not with violence, but with surgical precision. It forges new beings. Kai reforms first. He stands, but he is different. His physical form is sleeker, more efficient. Lines of crystalline circuitry are visible just beneath his skin, pulsing with a soft, data blue light in time with his heartbeat. He is not a machine. He is a symbiote of flesh and foundational code. His custodian link is gone. He no longer needs an interface because he is the interface. His HUD is now a natural sense. He can see layers of data, flows of energy, and the emotional state of others as instinctively as breathing. Mouse reforms next. Their form is more subtly changed. Their tech visor has vanished. Their eyes now naturally display scrolling strings of data. Their fingers can extend into delicate, shimmering tendrils for direct manipulation of code. They have become a weaver, their mind capable of perceiving and mending the very fabric of their local reality. They look at each other, not with alien detachment, but with a profound, deepened understanding that transcends words. The Foundry voice echoes around them. You are reforged. You are no longer merely residents of the simulation. You are native functions. You have the rights and responsibilities of the world itself. You can shape its rules, but you are bound by its health. You are its guardians from the inside out. Kai flexes a hand, feeling the hum of raw potential. He focuses his gaze on a small rock nearby. He doesn't issue a command. He reasons with the world's underlying logic. He simply suggests that the rock might be lighter, that its properties could allow for buoyancy. The rock's code accepts the logically sound suggestion, and it floats effortlessly into the air. The power is terrifying. He could unmake a mountain with a thought, but he also feels the responsibility. A physical law woven into his very being. Preserve the whole. Mouse's voice has a slight, harmonic echo now. I can hear the settlement. The bloom spires are singing. I can hear the thorn vines growing, the children dreaming. It's A symphony, Kai nods, his gaze distant. And I can hear the silence where the harvesters are, a void in a song. We can find them now, anywhere. But as they begin to test their new abilities, a sudden alarm rips through the Foundry. It isn't a sound, but a shared, visceral sensation of absolute wrongness. The violet forge fire of sacrifice gutters and dims, nearly extinguishing. The Foundry voice returns, a note of genuine distress in its tone. A breach. In the garbage layer, the harvesters have returned, not to mine, to deploy. A vision is forced into their minds, raw and immediate. The garbage layer, a chaotic sea of discarded code and forgotten data. 3 harvester drop ships descend through the digital static. From the lead ship, a containment pod is launched into the morass below. It opens. The hybrid weapon is released. It is a nightmare of efficient design. A sleek, quadrupedal form like a reaver, but constructed from shifting black anti-light. It moves with the silent, teleporting grace of a stalker. And in its wake, it doesn't leave footprints. It leaves memory holes, patches of pure null grid that don't just delete the present, but scrub the past from the world's code. Where it walks, history itself is unmade. And it's not alone. Dozens of smaller, insect-like drones pour from the other ships. They are weaver drones, designed to follow the hybrid, harvesting the newly cleansed code and packaging it for extraction. They're not just testing their weapon. They're stripping the garbage layer for parts. The vision ends, and the Foundry trembles around them. The voice is urgent. If they consume the raw material of this world's past, they gain not just weapons, but the blueprints of our souls. They can replicate our world's core trauma indefinitely. You must stop them. You are the only ones who can. Kai looks at his hands, now glowing with latent power, then at Mouse. Their first test isn't a training exercise. It's a desperate battle at the very end of creation. We have the tools, Kai says, his voice steady and resolute. Now we learn how to use them. In the field, they don't need a transport. They focus. They concentrate. They will themselves to be at the heart of the breach. The Foundry vanishes around them in a flash of light, and they are falling into chaos.
The chaos of the garbage layer is absolute city. Hybrid moves like a phantom, phasing through wreckage, leaving trails of erased reality in its wake. Behind it, a weaver drone sucks up the null grid, erasing history itself. Suddenly, Kai and Mouse materialize right between the harvesters and a massive, unstable cluster of priceless metal handle the weapon. Kai's thought flashes to Mouse. You stop the harvest. Protect the memories. Mouse nods. Their hands are blur as data tendrils erupt from their fingers. They don't just hack the weaver drones, they rewrite their very purpose. A new command floods their systems. Preserve and protect historical data. 2. The drones freeze, turn on each other in confusion, and begin trying to collect each other. The hybrid senses Kai. It turns its face a smooth, memoryless plate. A wave of psychic null energy erupts from it on attack, not on the body, but on the very concept of self. It tries to convince Kai's code that he doesn't exist. The old Kai would have been erased, but the new, reforged Kai resists. He grounds himself in his core truths. I am Kai. I protect New Haven. I remember. He pushes back with a wave of pure context, flooding the area with the data Lyra gave him, the taste of bread. The sound of council debates, the smell of turned earth, Thea hybrids, null wave shatters against this wall of lived reality. It shrieks, a sound of pure logical frustration, and charges, phasing through solid debris. Kai doesn't dodge. Instead, he changes the local laws of physics. In a 10-meter radius around him, a new rule takes effect. All consciousness must have a coherent narrative. The hybrid, a being of pure ahistorical erasure, suddenly finds itself struggling to move, an illogical entity in a logical space. But it's powerful. It adapts, starting to generate its own corrosive neurotiphus story of endless, silent nothingness to break the rule from within. Meanwhile, Mouse fights a different battle. A harvester scientist in a fortified sled directs the operation. It fires a codelock missile at a huge memory cluster, a weapon designed to encrypt and shrink reality for easy transport. Mouse sees it coming. They don't deflect it. They intercept it with their mind, catching the missile's code in a web of their own creation. Then, in an incredible feat of reprogramming, they refunction the missile in mid-air. It soars past the memory cluster and instead encrypts the scientist's sled, trapping him in a tiny, compressed cube. The effort is immense. Mouse staggers, their new form overheating. Kai is locked in a brutal, conceptual duel with the hybrid. It's a battle of stories. Kay feeds it, the story of the Arbiter's judgment, of growth from pain. The hybrid counters with the Harvester's peace, the static death of non-existence. They're at a stalemate, and Mouse's control over the drones is starting to fail. Kai realizes brute force won't work. The hybrid is designed to counter resistance. So, he stops resisting. He opens his new senses, not to fight the hybrid's null story, but to understand it. He sees its purpose, to create a clean slate, to remove messy, painful history. And in that, he sees its weakness. It cannot process something new. Kai stops feeding it old stories. He becomes an architect. He focuses his will not on the hybrid, but on the null grid at its feet. He doesn't repair it. He builds upon it. Using the erased code as raw clay, he forges a new memory right there in the void. He creates the memory of this very moment, of the hybrid standing here. He gives it context, emotion, the harvester's cold curiosity, his own fierce protection, Mouse's brilliant defiance. He implants this new history into the null grid. The void is no longer void. It has a past, and now a future. Its hybrid, designed to erase history, has a crisis of purpose. It stands on a patch of reality it just erased, which now contains the story of its own existence. Its logic loops. It freezes solid. Kai doesn't destroy it. He seals it, wrapping the frozen hybrid in layers of narrative codes, the story of its own creation, mission, and failure until it becomes a silent statue. A new monument in the garbage layer. The remaining Weaver drones, their central command gone inert. Power down. Silence returns. Mouse slumps against debris, exhausted. Kai helps them up. Their new forms are scarred but whole. They look at the sealed hybrid and the encrypted cube containing the harvester scientist. "We have a prisoner," Kai says, and they have a ship up there. A familiar voice whispers into their minds, weak but clear. It's the Arbiter. "You have passed the first trial. The Foundry's work is good. Now, bring me the prisoner. It is time we learned who we are fighting. And why." Kai and Mouse stand victorious. Above, the harvester ships, realizing their ground team is lost, begin to retreat. But this time, Kai's new senses lock onto their escape vector, a data trail leading back into the real world. They have a way to track them home. Back in New Haven, Lyra feels the surge of Kai's new power. Her hand hovers over the console that could sever his link to the Foundry. She hesitates, then pulls her hand away, choosing faith over fear. Thanks for sticking with us till the end. We're excited for the next episode. Smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any upcoming videos.